in, day out. So would love to figure out if there's other things that we can work on. But I'm sorry, because I think I stopped you turning on other channels then. As I came on, I heard you say, I'm going to turn on TikTok. I think I heard you say.
I've done it. We're live already. So yeah, it's all good. Yeah, we're already live. But no, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, how small the world has got, though, I think. And especially in the entrepreneur world, what I love about what you're doing is kind of galvanizing the community. I think that's really key. No one can do what needs to get done on their own. There's so many people out there that need help. It's just not possible for one human being to do it on their own. And I think this kind of collaboration, I say 1 + 1 = 11, is just so key, right? So
nice, I like that. So are you in the UK now?
Yeah, I moved back 3 years ago. So I still have businesses in Hong Kong, but I'm now totally, I've got a little boy who's now popping out to the park so that he doesn't disturb our broadcast now.
Seen him.
Yeah.
I looked at your Christmas message. Oh, he is adorable. But he was like, see you later. See you later.
Yeah, he's very English. Yeah, he's definitely, he's got that twang to him. And he says mate a lot as well. Are you okay, mate?
Yeah.
So cute.
I love his hair.
Yeah, I know. We have never cut it since he was born, and we probably should, because it gets in his eyes, but we just can't bring ourselves to do it. It's too cute. But anyway, it's all good. How about you? When you came to Hong Kong, I remember now the whole event, and you were working quite closely with the government as well, the trade mission stuff. So what happened after that? What was? I've got time. I'd love to actually catch up with you, Emma. I guess maybe we'll probably have to do it another time because we might be eating it. But I'd love to hear your story, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, we kept on doing trade missions. I'm going to say 2017 was probably the final year we did trade trips, because then we were just kind of full bent on sort of focusing on the UK. So yeah, we continue to grow as a business. Our sole job is helping people start and grow a business. So of course, in the past 12 months, we've become much more of a platform company. So up until a year ago, we were still running a lot of physical events across the UK. But of course, we pivoted everything online from last March. So last year, 500,000 small businesses came onto the platform last year, kind of saying, right, help me with this, help me with that. We're aiming for kind of the same again this year, but hopefully not in such kind of stressful mode this year. And it's definitely, I mean, I know we just went into another lockdown, but it's definitely feeling more positive amongst small businesses. So record startup rates at the moment. Existing businesses who are online sellers have had a pretty good kind of 6 months trading, so they're feeling quite bullish. So kind of our job is essentially just surround them with accountants, social media experts, branding tools, so kind of give them all the things that they kind of need to make a success of it themselves.
Yeah. I think one of the things you're doing that I did in Hong Kong, I built a lot of branded accelerator programs. So I got Nissan, American Express, all these big companies. I got 20 big companies on board to basically create programs to support small businesses, which I know I see you're doing with Amazon as well. I really love that model where actually the big corporations, they need these small companies to do well. You know, they're actually the lifeline to their own businesses most of the time. So it's a really important thing.
Well, I would love to talk to you about that, because actually we took on a girl called Diane Mensa back in October, who had just relocated from Hong Kong actually, and she's come in to run corporate accelerator programs for us. So she's running the Amazon one. She's hopefully about to pick up one with Capgemini. So Simon would love to pick that up with you.
Yeah, I'd love to help.
1 minute to go. Am I right in thinking, are you going to do slides, or are you just going to present?
Yeah, I think today my idea would be, I'm going to tell my story for your audience that don't know it. So I'm just going to give a little bit of background. I'm going to kind of, my title for myself today is really the purpose of it all, you know, the secret to business. So I'm going to give it like a TED Talk 20-minute thing, my idea is. And then I will kind of then do an open to the floor Q&A, answering people's questions about branding or whatever else they might need to know.
Beautiful. So just in terms of my role, I will go off when you do the 20 minutes. Do you want me to come back on and facilitate the Q&A? Because we'll have loads of questions that are posed through this GoToWebinar. I can just post them to you, or do you want to manage that yourself?
It's up to you. I'd rather have you come back on, but I know how busy you are as well, Emma. So it's up to you totally.
I'm staying for the full 30 minutes. Wonderful. So I'm either staying quiet or I come back.
Wonderful.
So I will. So if you're happy by the fact we have hit 12, are you happy for me to get going?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a couple of hundred people now on our live, so listening. So a lot of people that don't know about Enterprise Nation, feel free to mention you guys too at the beginning.
Amazing. All right. Well, we've got double then because we've got numbers.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to today's Daily Lunch and Learn webinar. My name is Emma Jones, founder of Enterprise Nation, and this is my first Lunch and Learn of 2021. I hope you're all doing fine out there. Of course, we kicked off the Lunch and Learns again from Monday. And if you are new to Lunch and Learn, just to explain how our format goes, we have 30 together, and this hopefully is to give you lots of practical information, but also to bring some routine into your day, and we've never all needed that quite so much. So I'm very delighted today. We have an incredible entrepreneur as a guest. We have over 500 people who are registered for today's session, and I think that shows the popularity of this gentleman's entrepreneurial background. I was just saying to Simon, I had the pleasure of meeting him in Hong Kong in 2016 when Enterprise Nation ran a trade trip to Hong Kong, and I will never forget, Simon was incredibly generous with his time and his advice to all the delegates who we brought of British companies looking to break into the Hong Kong and the China market. This man has started not just one, not just two, but 17 businesses. He had an amazing agency called Fluid that he successfully sold to PwC. And fast forward to 2021, and he is on a personal mission to help 1 million people start and grow their own small business. So as I said to Simon just before we click broadcast, he's definitely in the right place today to help people start and grow. So the format of today is going to be slightly different. Simon is going to talk to you for about 20 minutes in a kind of a TEDx style talk, and then I will come back on and we will field your questions for the final 10. But Simon, it is a great pleasure to welcome you to Lunch and Learn today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Simon Squibb, over to you.
Emma, thank you so much for having me. I feel honoured to be the first Lunch and Learn guest of 2021. I think we all have big hopes for the coming year. So let me see if I can help ensure 2021 is a good year for you guys. Now, I thought that I would just give you a bit of a story, really, a bit of background on things that I've learned over the last, I guess, 17 businesses that I built and the 68 startups that I've actually invested in. I felt if I gave you some background as to what I've learned from that, then at the end, we could get into any questions you guys have around branding and stuff like that. Now, I owned Hong Kong's largest branding agency called Fluid, which Emma just mentioned. I sold in 2016 to PwC for more money than I ever need, which sounds a bit crass saying that, but I think sometimes just showing, you built up a business and sold it, it does show some, I guess, entrepreneurial credibility. I've built plenty of businesses that failed, and to be honest, I've always learned a lot more from my failures than my successes. I have a theory that my successes are always luck, and my failures are things that I've learned to help me learn to make sure that I am actually successful in the ones that I'm lucky on. I'm going to give you basically the purpose of life. So I'm setting myself up in the next 17 minutes to give you the purpose of life. Let's see if I can do that. In business, I think I can definitely give you the secret to it all. If you want to have a successful business or you want your existing business to be successful, I think I can give you the key to that in the next 17 minutes. And then, as I just mentioned, I want you to think about this question at the end. We can talk about, are you lucky? Are you a lucky person? Are you lucky in business? Are you lucky in life? And what is luck? Now, as Emma kindly mentioned, I have started a lot of businesses, invested in a lot of businesses. I guess that's the glamorous headlines that always get me booked to talk at events and so on. But I always like to go into the detail of how it all started. And before I tell you my story about how I left school at 15 and also left home at the same time and started a business at 15 years old, before I quickly get into that, I thought I'd share with you the secret to the all bit up front. When I started investing in startups about, I guess, 12, 13 years ago, when I first started investing and I was living in Hong Kong, a lot of people told me, Simon, don't you remember the dot-com bust? And, why would you be investing in startups? Don't you know how that's all going to fail? It was not popular to invest in startups like it is today. I was actually looked down upon as someone that should be playing the stock market. Why am I wasting my time with these businesses that will likely fail? But before I started getting heavily into investing in startups, I did want to understand what made a company successful and what made a company fail. So I started researching founders of companies in particular, and what is it that made them succeed versus the people that haven't. And of course, we all hear this kind of phrase, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Turns out that's not true. A lot of people work very hard and don't make it. And equally, a lot of the people that I actually researched, it turns out that the image of them might be that they're working all the time, but actually that's not the case. I'm sure a lot of you know about Warren Buffett and his story about how he spends 5 or 6 hours a day reading. And so you might consider that working in his business, but he doesn't. He considers that relaxing. So I noticed when I was researching, of course, obvious ones like Bill Gates. This is what I discovered about them. Now, of course, when you look at the success story of Bill Gates, it looks very, very simple. He created an amazing software company, like it or not, business-wise, it's amazing. And of course, he became the world's richest man. But I think a lot of people miss the early stages of what people go through to make a breakthrough like that. And I found it fascinating when digging into the Bill Gates story. I found some things that I'd never seen online about him, which were how he really struggled to quit Harvard, and how his family and his friends at Harvard, everybody around him was saying to him, don't quit Harvard, finish Harvard. If you finish Harvard, you're set up for life. That was the saying that came out a lot from what people were telling him. And even when he did drop out of Harvard and he kind of ignored what everyone had to say, and I think it's ironic when people say, you'd be set up for life if you stayed in Harvard. I think he's set up for life today, right? I don't think he's got a problem on that regard. But he ignored them and dropped out. He ignored his parents, his peers, his friends, everybody, and did what he felt was right. And I guess it's fascinating for me to look back and see, at that time when he left Harvard, Harvard actually removed him completely from the system. They were not proud of the fact that someone was leaving Harvard. They didn't want that to be the case. And so they removed him from the records as almost like a dropout. And of course, now, just before coronavirus hit, I actually went to Harvard. I've done a talk at Harvard. And his picture and his story is everywhere in Harvard. So now they leverage him as this kind of guy that they cultivated, who then was part of the Harvard network and went on to create Microsoft. So history will get rewritten as people see you succeed, which I think is fascinating. But I then looked at people like Elon Musk. Again, we all know his story. I found it interesting to see, of course, that the story is well known. He didn't actually invent PayPal. Peter Thiel and those guys did. He had another company that was kind of competing with PayPal, and his brand wasn't as strong. And so he decided to actually team up with PayPal and drop his own brand, which was called X, and become part of the team at PayPal. So he didn't invent the company, although that's sometimes a preconception by people. But he saw the winning team and he joined it. I always call it 1 + 1 = 11. And so he joined PayPal. Now, we all know the story of what he did. He went and with that team, the PayPal Mafia, built a company where he personally, when it was sold, made $110 million US. Now, at that point, he could have done what I did, which I retired at 40, never needing to work again. He could have done that much younger. But instead of taking that 110 million and buying a few properties and having rental income and being financially free and never working again, he did what I think makes him special. He went again. And he put all that money, as we all know, into Tesla and SpaceX and all these kind of crazy, risky ventures. And there's a great talk that he did in Hong Kong while I was there, and I had the honor to chat to him. But he talked about how at one point he had $50 million US left, and Tesla needed the full amount, and SpaceX needed the full amount. And so if he gave half to both, then they both probably would die. But that's what he did. And so, the story I learned from Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and the other 100 founders that I researched that had succeeded was that this is the secret to it all. If you want to succeed in business, you've got to be willing to risk it all. And people that don't grasp this and hold on to things, perhaps, for example, their existing business model and don't let go, or their own financial, their home, for example, which I know is very precious for people. If you hold on to these things, they end up owning you. And the reason that people succeed, and all the people I've researched, all the people I've invested in, and myself, I look back at my own experience, I know this to be true. You've got to be willing to risk it all. Now, I mentioned earlier my story. I left school at 15. I was kicked out of home. I was actually homeless for 5 days. And I actually had this experience myself, but it was kind of forced upon me. I also started out life really with nothing. And I think this learning this concept of willing to risk it all is really interesting. When you lose everything and you start, how actually exciting it can be, and how you can leave the legacy of what you were given behind. So, for example, my mother always wanted me to be a lawyer. And for as young as I can remember, when someone asked me, I think at 10 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, a lawyer. Now, no 10-year-old wants to be a lawyer. That's what my parents wanted me to be. And it sunk into my subconscious and become who I felt I was. That was my identity, what was given to me. And when I moved out of home and left school, and I didn't have the peer pressure of my school friends anymore telling me that that's what I should do because I could talk well. I didn't have the pressure of my family telling me that's expectations of me. For the first time in my life, I sat there and thought, who am I? What am I actually about? What do I really enjoy? What am I being programmed to do? Not what I've been conditioned to do, but what do I actually like to do? And it was at that moment that my entrepreneurial muscle woke up in my brain. I never even thought about entrepreneurship up until that point. I always had this idea that I was going to be a lawyer, and that was it. And so in my mind, suddenly this entrepreneurial muscle woke up, and I thought to myself, I can't be homeless. 5 days into being homeless, I can't be homeless. I've got to find a way to earn money. So I remember walking past a big house in Cambridge, had a really messy garden, and I thought, that's not right. And so I walked in the gate, knocked on the door of that house. This is before coronavirus, when you could do these things. And someone answered the door, and I said, hey, you've got a really messy garden. I've got a gardening company, and I would like to take care of it for you. And the guy looked me up and down. Gosh only knows what he must have thought of me. And said, oh, wow, okay, right. So, sure, actually, I do need someone to take care of my garden. How much do you charge? And I just plucked a number out of the air. I said, £200 a month. And the guy said, yeah, sure. And I walked back down the drive thinking, wow, I can't believe this has happened. I've now got some income. And I thought to myself, hold a minute, this isn't enough income because I'm going to need to buy equipment. What shall I do? So I knocked on the next house, who also had a messy garden and a big house, and said, hey, I'd like to take care of your garden. This time the person pushed back and said to me, actually, I've already got a gardener. And I said, well, your garden's still messy. Are they doing a good job? And they were like, well, good point. Maybe they need a bit more competition. So do you want to take care then? I was like, yeah, give me a chance. He's like, how much will you charge? I said, well, how much is your present gardener charging you? And he said, £350 a month. And I suddenly realized, well, the previous house had snatched my hand off. I was way below market rate. So I said, how about I knock 50 quid off, you give me a chance, you say 50 quid and I get the work, 300 quid a month. The guy said yes. But then I'd learned market rate. By the second house I'd knocked on, I'd done price discovery and learned the market rate. And that day I knocked on over 100 houses, their doors. I managed to get 11 people to give me their work. And then I got home that night into my hovel that I was living in at this point, and I realized I didn't have the money for the equipment. So it was a Saturday when I got people to say yes. I went back on the Sunday, and gosh only knows what people thought again. I brought this contract with me. I'd written on a bit of paper saying what I was going to do in their garden, and then asked them for a 50% deposit. And they gave me the deposit money. And with that deposit money on the Monday, I then went and bought the equipment. By the following week, I was starting to work on gardens. And when I started to work on gardens, I realized how hard it was to do it on my own. I couldn't even do one garden on my own. It was that bad. So I went back to the hovel I was living in and looked up other people who had no real home to live in and said, do you want some weekend work, part-time work? Come and help me with these gardens. Within 3 weeks, I had a gardening company with 5 people working for me. I managed to get more contracts, 30 contracts within 3 weeks. And so part of me wants to tell this story to also highlight that anyone that wants to start a business, sometimes you're overthinking it. Today, if people want to start a gardening company, they approach me and they say, Simon, I've got a gardening company idea. I need to do a really nice website. We need a social media campaign. We need to do this, we need to do that. And before you know it, they've spent millions of pounds before they've even started a company. And I say, knock on the door of a customer and start. You know, you'll discover a lot of the things you need to learn by just doing the things you need to do. But I learned myself that by having nothing and starting again, you can discover who you are. And I have then lived by that rule my whole life. Every single business I've ever started, I'm all in. And as I've developed my career and managed to make money despite lots of losses. I've also realized you don't need money to start a business. But I have definitely discovered that one of the elements of a business that really makes a difference is brand. Personal brand and company brand. I had the honor of meeting Emma in 2016 in Hong Kong when she came with the government of the UK to see Hong Kong and what could be done collaboration-wise. And I was very honored to be put forward by the government in Hong Kong as an ambassador for entrepreneurship in that city. And that's the power of brand. You know, that's the power of, you know, people will work with you if you've done a good day's work, you've worked hard and sincerely, people will want to work with you. And in my view, personal brand and company brand, there are no difference. You've got to connect the two. And that, in my view, equals this kind of purpose of life. My feeling is the purpose of life is a life with purpose. So if you as an individual have a powerful purpose, and my purpose at this stage in my life is not much different to what it was when I was younger. When I was 24 years old, I realized that I had a skill in entrepreneurship and that other people could too. No one's born anything. No one's born a doctor. No one's born a lawyer. No one's born an entrepreneur. We all need training. There's different types of doctors, brain surgeons and GPs, all with different skills. There's different types of entrepreneurs. We can all be taught to be entrepreneurs. And I think it's everyone's right to have the skill of entrepreneurship in their job or in their life to enhance their life and get what they want out of it. So I'm on a mission to help people wake up that muscle in their brain. And when it is awake, help them define it. And I've been feeling that way since 23 years old. When I had an agency called Fluid in Hong Kong, which I used to use to help people start their businesses with brand. And then with Nest, when I would invest in companies, and I used to help people start businesses with capital and network. So brand, capital, and network, in my view, are the fuel to make a business work. But ultimately, you have to have this secret to it all mindset. And if you do, you cannot fail because there is no stopping. One final thing I'll say before we can jump to Q&A is I really feel that there is an element to entrepreneurship that is hard to explain, and I'm trying to do it. And when I sat down at 40 and I was retired, I never needed to work again. I never need to work again in my life. And I thought, right, okay, this is amazing. Is this a dream, isn't it? That you don't have to work again at 40. But I sat down like I think most successful entrepreneurs do. I'm going to write a book, I said to myself. And so I did that. I wrote this book about how I went to Hong Kong in 1997 when everyone else was leaving. Hong Kong was getting handed back to the Chinese and everyone thought it was going to become a communist state. Tanks were going to roll in. So they all left. I moved there at that time. And I wrote about how I like to go against the tide and, you know, I'm brilliant. This is all the things I've done. And then I read the book back to myself, 52,000 words. And I thought to myself, there's something missing from this book. This sounds like every other entrepreneur book. You know, work hard, do this, do that, and you'll be successful. And I thought there's something missing. And I've discovered what that missing piece is. And I've been obsessed with it ever since. And that missing piece is luck. Actually, I was lucky. Now, when I made a lot of money and I was retired, people say, "Oh, you're so lucky." For a moment, I was offended. You're like, no. Do you know what I did? Do you know how hard I worked from the age of 15 till now? You think it's luck, right? And then I started being more humble about it and realizing actually there's a huge amount of luck involved. And once you recognize that luck is involved in success, I wanted to understand what luck was. So I did the same process I did before starting to invest in startups. I really analyzed what is luck? How does luck work? And I discovered a secret. And that is that luck is actually broken into two parts. There is, and this is all in my book, by the way, but you don't need to buy the book because I'm about to tell you it. So you don't need to buy my book now. But there are two parts to luck. The luck that we actually know in the dictionary, there's only one definition in the dictionary, and it says basically a random occurrence. Now, there is a random occurrence luck, but it's much smaller amount of luck than you think. Because there is a second type of luck. There is a luck that you can influence. The first type of luck where it's random, an example might be where you're born. You can have no influence over where you're born, and that can be luck or bad luck. But equally where you're born, instantly people think, if you're born into the royal family, wow, how lucky, privilege, access, amazing. But we all know with Prince Harry, for example, that's not necessarily luck, right? That's necessarily a bad thing for some personality types, some people. Equally, we all know stories of people that were born in very difficult circumstances that fought their way out and became huge successes, often because of that very environment that they were born into. So what is good luck and what is bad luck? Even within the first framework is an interesting question. And then the second element, I would say 97% of the time, luck falls into this category. And it's basically a luck you can influence. And I've discovered there are 3 ways that you can increase your luck. I didn't know I was doing these 3 things. So now I know to tell other people, if you do these 3 things, you will increase your chances of luck dramatically. And without luck, you will not be successful. And it's broken into these 3 bits. First is you must be willing to take risk, a lot of it. The more risk you take, the luckier you get, is truer than the harder you work, the luckier you get. Because the harder you work, the sicker you get. But the more risk you take, definitely equals more luck. And risk and fear are linked. And the big mistake people are making is thinking that fear is something to be scared of. Fear is actually something to totally embrace. Fear is a skill given to us. Think about how it originally started. Lions coming towards us. We suddenly feel this surge of power and we think faster, move faster, and we survive, right? Fear is an asset. Stress is good for you. It keeps you alive, right? Fear is a skill. Leverage it. When you feel fear, you've got a good thing going. Lean into it. And if you love fear, you'll take more risk, and more risk will equal a more successful, more lucky life. And the other 2 elements, which I'm running out of time, so I'm going to give them briefly and not go into too much depth, but the other 2 are definitely destination. You need to know your destination. A lot of people don't. When I'm investing in a startup, I ask the startup founders, what's your destination? And if they say to me, well, we're going to build a company and we're going to sell it to Amazon and we're going to make X hundreds of millions, that is not an investable business. That is not a destination. That is fuel for the car for your destination. Money is fuel for your car for the destination. But if you don't know your destination, you don't know what to put in the car to get you there, you don't know what stuff you need at the other end when you get to the destination, mentally and physically, you don't know what you need because you don't know your destination. And most people get in that car and go around in circles because they don't know their destination. They don't know what they're trying to achieve. And so equally, once you know your destination, you know what type of car you can go in, and that can affect the amount of fuel that you have. Can you go in a hybrid? Do you need a 4x4? You know what? I can go on and on about this metaphor, but the point is destination. You've got to know it. And then the final thing is, in my view, from my experience of decades of working and building and being involved in lucky businesses, is you've absolutely got to be persistent. Now, I'm always proud to say that I started my career in sales, knocking on doors. I don't know why sales has become almost like a dirty word, but sales is so powerful. It feeds a business. I love nothing more than sales. It is a beautiful thing if you do it with strong moral code and with purpose. And so when I started out my agency business in Hong Kong, I wrote a list of 50 companies I wanted to work with. Now, in sales, good salespeople will approach someone 5 times on average, statistically, before they give up. Right? So we can all see the cycle. You contact them, they don't reply, you contact them, they go again, you don't reply. Maybe you wait a week, you try to call them, maybe you send them a brochure, and then a month later you follow up again. And most people at that point give up like a dead lead, right? But when I started my business, that's a good salesperson. But a great salesperson like me, we're persistent. And what we do is, I had 50 clients I wanted to work with. It took me 9 years to get all 50 clients. And I spoke to every single one of those brands somehow every month. Whether it was to wish them a happy Christmas, whether it was to wish the person that was running the company a happy birthday, whether it was to send them some insightful piece of information and how I'd seen the evolution of their car industry, whatever it was, every month I made a contact until I established a relationship, right? And the 3 principles of sales I can get into another time. But basically, you know, persistence, that's the key. And good is the enemy of great. And those are the 3 things you need to be lucky in life. And I in my book, I've written a poem. I'd love your feedback, guys, because I'm going to publish this soon, so you can tell me if this is good. And basically, I'm so obsessed with concept of luck now. I've researched like the Second World War and who survived and who didn't, and why, and what they did differently. That's all in my book. It's a fascinating insight for me. But I love this concept, which is fear is an asset, luck is a skill, passion is a must-have, and purpose is your fuel. There you go, guys. Now open to the floor for questions.
That was was stunning. I have never nodded so many times when listening to somebody speak. That was absolutely superb, Simon. And especially when you were talking about fear, I thought it's just so relevant right now because, of course, lots of businesses have spent the past 12 months in fear of what's going on. And as you say, it just makes you move quicker and faster. So just incredible. Beautiful, beautiful. Right, I'm going to go straight into questions because, as I thought, they are piling on through. So the first question is from Veronica, who was lucky to get in first with her question. And I'm going to come back at the end actually and ask you about your book. So I think it's coming out in March, so we'll get some information on that. But Veronica says, thanks to Simon for insights from his own experience as an entrepreneur. I'd be interested in hearing his views about being a serial entrepreneur, in brackets, build one business and exiting before moving to the next, close brackets, versus managing multiple businesses at the same time. Is one model or approach better than the other?
It's a really good question. And I think there's an entrepreneur asking that question right there, because we struggle, I think, with having lots of ideas and wanting to do lots of things and what is focused and what is not. I've got a podcast show, which I hope one day to be able to broadcast in partnership with Enterprise Nation, which is called The Good Luck Club. And basically, I just interviewed someone who created a very successful brand called Pip and Nut. And she was talking about how she launched this fantastic brand selling nuts, and it's done so well, become a £10 million business in a very short period of time. And then she thought she'd do almond milk. And she initially thought it's the same thing. It's a nut, but it's just a milk, right? No big deal. It's the same business. And she realized it was a completely different category, a completely different part of the supermarket, a completely different packaging requirement, a completely different makeup mechanism. And so it failed. And she explained that very openly in the podcast, which I'm always grateful for. And I think that she learned a huge lesson there that diversifying even within your own business can be tricky. And so, but it does leave the question, what is diversification and what is adding value to your business? This is how I've done it, okay? This is how I've always looked at things. I've always tried to focus in on having one brand, the one that I'm running, one company, one brand, one purpose. And then if another idea comes in that can service that purpose and we can handle it with our present team, then I'm all for it. But if an idea comes in that can help our purpose, but we can't service it with our existing team, then I often look for someone else to run that platform or run that service or run that business. So, it's a bit like, everyone tries to do a podcast right at the moment. I've been doing it for a year. Let me tell you, it's a very specialized thing. Actually, you have to really go deep and understand how to put those things together. It's not easy to add it on to your existing business, but a lot of people do. And then there's about 100,000 podcasts that last about three episodes. So the point I'm trying to make here is, I think for me, I find that my existing infrastructure, I focus on my purpose. And if I can add to my purpose by bringing in people that can then service the new idea, then great. And then there's a third way to do it, which is I've also done, which is someone comes with a business or an idea that I really love. I'd really love to be involved in it. And I then invest in that business. And investment can come in many forms. I put in capital most of the time because I think it's good to have skin in the game, but it's not just money. I've also often put my resources of my organizations behind that startup. I've, for example, built accelerator programs. Emma and I were just talking about this because Emma's doing accelerator programs at the moment where big brands will come in and help startups. And so, I've leveraged those connections at big brands that have taken me 2 decades to make to then help a startup get going. And so to me, that's all value. But I can't run that business. That's the mistake I think a lot of people make. They try to be the chief of all of those businesses and they end up, frankly, getting burnt out, or one doesn't work well. One part of the business gets left behind. And it does link to brand. I think a lot of the time, like I've got 2 brands I'm personally managing at the moment, but they interlink, right? So I've got Simon Squibb, which, is I'm known as an entrepreneur. So I've got a new brand, which is the Purposeful Project, which is mission is to help 1 million people start a business of their own and make sure no entrepreneur feels alone. But that brand right now is not as famous as me, without sounding arrogant. And so I leverage the Simon Squibb name to bring credibility to the Purposeful Project. But eventually the Purposeful Project will stand on its own and hopefully someone will come and run that platform for me, who can take care of the things I don't like taking care of. So that's how I do it. I think you can build two brands, but you can't build a business that has too many missions. So that's my quick answer. Is it quick? That's my answer.
It's everyone is going to be so disappointed because we're bang on 12:30. Honestly, Simon, it's been lovely to see the comments that everybody's made. I'm going to read out, this is probably my favourite one, from Adrian, who says, brilliant webinar. Will it be posted? Because I want to share it with my son, which I just love. We haven't had that before. Loads of incredible comments about you. Adrian, just to confirm, it will be posted. So this webinar goes on Enterprise Nation in a couple of hours, actually. So every lunch in there goes straight up to the platform. Simon, just tell us about the book before we go. So it's coming out in March.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
It's coming out in March. Genuinely, you don't need to buy it. I'm trying to figure out how. I don't want to make money from entrepreneurship these days. So I'm thinking that my profits from the book will go to supporting entrepreneurs, and I'll invest in more entrepreneurs. But the book itself, yes, will be out in March. Due to COVID, it got a bit delayed. And so, yeah, it should be out in March. Hopefully, no issue. Printing's been a bit of an issue, but you can actually sign up for the book through my website, simonsquibb.com, and let me know if you're interested in the book. But honestly, you can just go listen to my YouTube or my TikTok channel, and you will get all my content for free. You don't need to buy the book, just so you know.
It's incredible. The whole bit you did around sales, as you were talking about sales, again, I was vociferously nodding along with you, and I thought, oh, I'm going to share this with our whole business development team at Enterprise Nation. I think I'm going to cut this bit off at the end where you're like, no, you don't need to buy it, but I love the reason as to why you're saying that. Simon Squibb, you were incredible, just a truly brilliant entrepreneur, and my favourite kind of entrepreneur, because you've been a proven success and you're now giving back to the next generation to help everybody else follow in your footsteps, and you've got so much sage advice to give all of us. So I really hope we can get you back again. I would love to have you more involved in Enterprise Nation, but we are out of time today. I don't think I've ever gone over 2 minutes with anyone, but today you were definitely worth it. Simon Squibb, huge thanks for joining us. And ladies and gents, as I say, the recording will be available, and we will send a follow-up email with all details, including Simon's book.
Thank you so much, Ellen.
So
thank you, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Bye. See you. Bye. There we go, folks. That's today's broadcast. I'm actually back on interviewing two entrepreneurs at 3:30. So in 2 hours time, no, 3 hours time, no, 2.5 hours time, it's 12:30 now. In 2.5 hours time, I will be online again. I have two founders that are coming on to tell their story. One share their expertise, and another founder who needs our help. They'll be telling us what they need help with, and we as a community hopefully can come online and help them. So I'll be back online in 2 hours. Please come and join. For those listening on TikTok, thank you very much. I saw all your kind comments. Bullet, John, the dogs do need a quick walk. That's true. But thank you so much, guys, for listening. And those on YouTube, I see you guys. JT, thanks. Jovi, nice to see you. Nova, I see you guys. Alex, nice to see you as well, mate, on Facebook. And guys, oh, Luke, wonderful to see you as well. I'm back online. I hope I don't, there's not too much Simon Squibb this year, but I'm back online in 2.5 hours where I've got an expert coming on sharing their knowledge about marketing and branding and all sorts of interesting things. And then we have an entrepreneur coming on who has troubles in their business, but also some exciting opportunities, and we're going to help them. So if you guys want to come back on in 2.5 hours, I'd really appreciate it. I just put a new video up online. If you guys want to check that out, let me know if it's good. Equally, as I always say at the end of these broadcasts, if you think anyone would benefit from the story I've told today, then please share it with them. Hit the share button. It helps the algorithm realize that my content's good. I'm not playing the system and paying to play. I'm not selling anything, so I can't do the pay-to-play model that other people are doing where they sell their content into the system. I'm just giving content for free. So when you share it, it makes a tremendous difference to me because I know it's getting to the people that will find it useful right now. Those that can't find a job, I want you to create a job of your own. Those that are struggling with your businesses and who isn't right now, I want you to know you're not alone and there's help here. So if you guys can share this broadcast, share the link on YouTube, share in any way the broadcast content. If you think it's useful, it would mean the world to me. In addition, if you give comments or hit the like button on YouTube or hit the like button on my TikTok, it lets people know that this content's useful, and hopefully it means it reaches people like you that find this content useful. And that's it, guys. I'll stop with the sales pitch. Thank you so much for listening. I'm back in 2.5 hours. I'm going to take my dog for a poo, and then I'll be back to see you all then. Okay, guys? I'll see you soon. Thanks again for listening today.